And so fewer people are getting married in that age group. And then the men that are like my age want a woman that's like 21.
Which is unrealistic. I think that what's happening is these young men who are not mature are just saying things that sound cute on the internet. They want low body count, and that means age. You also want a woman that's ready and mature. A lot of men are not mature in their 20s. You want to be 40 and date a 20-year-old? Y'all not even on the same page. That woman don't have life experience. I would argue that every woman in here will say, man, I was different in my 20s. I was way different in my 20s. Now I'm more mature. And so most men should not be trying to go for a younger woman just off because her body count.
Exactly.
That's not realistic. You should consider the body count, but you do want a mature woman. Because you can't get too caught up on the body count, man. I'm telling you, you'll never know anyway.
I get a little caught up on it.
You'll never know anyway. You'll never know unless
disagrray.
you actually knew. They're not going to tell you.
I get a little caught up.
Some women may have had a point in time in college where they were real nasty. And they moved on. And they moved on.
I'll get caught up.
They moved. I'm saying they moved on, and they want to get back with their life, and it's been decades since they've been that way.
Join the nunnery.
And they're not going to ever tell you the truth.
Join the nunnery.
Join the nunnery.
Brian.
Join the nunnery.
Here you go.
It's over.
Let's say this. Let's say this. But what about men though? What about men?
Yeah.
Can a man have too much of a body count?
So mature.
Can he watch porn every day and
think
be healthy? No.
Well, I think it's a little different though, but it's a little different. Okay.
So do you think young men can just run it up as much as they care to, and then later in life they can stop?
I don't think it's good for men to just run through a bunch of chicks. I don't think that's a good thing. It's certainly not. And again, same thing with the high value, low value terms. I don't like using the terms alpha and beta. I don't like these terms, but just for the sake of this conversation, it's certainly not alpha to go and bang a bunch of chicks and get herpes. It's not alpha to bring your future wife STDs. That's not alpha. So that's not high value. So and obviously, whether you're a man or a woman, the more sexual partners you have, you're increasing your risk of getting an STD, herpes, etc. It's not like, that's not a W to like fuck a bunch of chicks and then get herpes. You rolled the dice, you got the herpes, like.
Or to be damaged as a man.
Sure.
Where you can never take a woman serious because you're looking for the next.
But I would say though, to your point about age and stuff, and I do think that there's a evolutionary component to men preferring younger women. And I think it comes down to, one, younger women are more fertile. So if you're a 40-year-old man and who are you going to date? Someone between the ages of 30 to 40, and you want to have kids, for example, you might start looking towards women who are 25 to 29. They're a better bet for fertility. And I think that's just logically, intellectually makes a lot of sense, but also just from a purely evo-psych angle and just evolutionary biological reality, women who, after the age of 35, they get into high-risk pregnancy territory. It becomes harder to get pregnant. I'm not saying it's impossible. You can be in your 40s and get pregnant, but if you're a man who's got his life together and you're looking to start a family, it is probably a better bet, fertility speaking, to go for younger women. And it's just evolutionary.
Not too young.
Huh?
Not too young.
Okay, when I say the word woman, I am talking about adults. Are you trying to say like minors?
Well, you just said the younger, so I just
younger women.
So I just
we're talking
so
about
like early 20s.
We're talking about adult relationships here. I'm not.
But
what do you think I'm talking about? Fucking 11-year-old? What the fuck? I'm talking about adult relationships.
No, you just said younger, so I thought the term was like the younger you go.
I'm assuming 18 and up.
Yes,
that's what I'm assuming
about
here.
adult relationships. I'm not talking about.
No, but you make an incredible point, because I do think men, when they get older, they do have to evaluate that. And you know, you're a man in your 40s and you've never been married, you don't have any kids. You know that you're probably in a weird territory yourself, but I do think men like that do want younger women, and it makes sense to, right? You can't have a woman in her 40s when you 40, because y'all ain't gonna have no kids if that's what you aspire to be. But I do think these young guys they're in their 30s or late 20s, and they're acting like a woman who's 31 is just dead meat. And I feel like
Seriously.
that's crazy to me to believe that, because these young men are not ready until they're in their late 20s or 30s. Like I told you, you can beat your chest and say, "Oh, I'm ready for women. I'm dating," and your mama still pay your phone bill.
It's all about
But
maturity.
those things, young men need to really be focused on developing and becoming a man that can provide first, and then start dating. And sometimes women who have gone through the phase of being confused about who they are and dating, they come out of that when they go into their late 20s and 30s. And I think that's where women are probably prime, is right around that area. When they're too young, man, they're lost. They don't know what they want to be.
100%.
And you don't want to be with a woman like that. That's how you get divorced.
Yeah, and there's actually a divorce rate. No. To that point, when you marry someone, 5 years, there's a 5-year age gap that increases the chance of divorce by like 20%, and when there's a 10-year age gap, it increases chance of divorce by 40%.
Look, you're 29, right?
I'm 29.
29, right? How do I?
And apparently geriatric to a lot of these people watching.
Look, it's just the reality is that across multiple age cohorts of men, like in terms of just what men find the most physically attractive, it's women who are like 21. At any age, most men, purely physical attractiveness, it's 21. Whereas women, it tends to match up more so with a woman who's 29 is going to find a guy who's 30, like peak physical attractiveness. But men, as they continue to age, they continue to find women who are like 20 to 22 within that's a constant when it comes to physical attractiveness. There's probably an evolutionary basis for that because younger women are more fertile.
But there was a study that showed that men prefer women's, like as they get older, their attractiveness to men, it goes up faster. Like they prefer men that are closer to their age. But men, it did too. It was much less significant. Like for a woman, every year she aged, she found people that were like, it was like 5 years plus 1 year. So like people 6 years less than younger.
Okay,
than her,
so
and then
you're
7 years.
29, right? So here, let me think. Okay, I'm 34. I can't think of what's the benefit of dating a 34-year-old instead of a 24-year-old? Because
For me?
No, for me, because I find a woman who's 24 much more physically attractive than a woman than 34.
It depends on the woman, right? A 34-year-old woman.
They're gonna get triggered.
A 34-year-old woman that take care of herself and that's healthy and active and stuff, she can look just as good as a younger woman.
Disavow.
You don't think so?
Are you saying it because I'm 24?
No, just
Okay.
okay.
Just making sure.
These little kids, like down here, when I drove in today, these are little kids out here. There's no way.
They're party chicks. They're party chicks. I don't want a party chick.
But their bodies and their shape and what they look like is
they're very physically
20-year-old. They're not to me. They're not attractive.
They all
These are
look
little
the
kids.
same.
How they dress?
No, because they look like little kids.
No, they do. They're still in their teens.
They
They're
look
all
like little
skinny,
immature women that's not developed.
Yeah.
They're just like little kids out there. When I see them, I see little kids. I see young women. There's nothing a 20-year-old can do for me as a 36-year-old man. It's not. I don't even want to look at them. They have no experience in life. They've done nothing. They still got to figure themselves out.
Like a woman's experience in life to me is not really something that I'm looking for.
So what do you want?
So
Do
you
you want a
want-
vessel for your semen? Like
What?
But
No.
because
They got
seriously,
personal.
because no, but if you don't want her as a partner, like someone that can be equal to you, then what do you want? So and I don't
Equal. Okay. This whole
partner who
idea.
can make
This
you
whole
better.
idea. But most women don't want equal. You want a guy who makes more money than you. You want a guy who's taller than you. You want a guy who's confident. You want a guy who's entertaining.
But you want a guy
who's
you want a
funny.
girl who's more virtuous. You want a girl who's maybe calmer and will calm you down. You want a girl who is probably like beautiful. You want a girl who's fertile. You want like
And that's
so you
not
have
going to
those
be a
things too,
woman.
and that's okay.
That's
There's
not
different
going to be a
standards.
woman who's probably around my age.
I think Brian, you're around the age where women are probably in their prime. It's
34?
I think early 30s.
No,
Early
women,
30s.
Women is 24.
I think I'm not when I say prime. When I say prime,
Physical prime.
no.
is 24.
When I say prime, I'm not talking about physical. I'm not talking about any of that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the whole package of a woman.
Yes.
That's what I think. When they're 25, I mean, just you're gonna
Know
deal
about
with.
that one.
I think you may deal with a lot of immature women when you're 25.
Yeah.
They're not gonna understand you and unless they raised by quality parents. Now, if they got good parents and they raised in a household that has them in a position where they're very mature, a 25-year-old woman will be incredible. But when you're in your 30s, 20-year-old women are in a different generation than you are. They don't understand the things that you would understand as a mature man in your 30s headed into your late 30s. Yeah. I think, I could be wrong, but I'm just saying for me, when I was, when I'm in my 30s, 18 and 20-year-olds and 21, 22, I never even thought about dating girls that young.
What I would say is that there are plenty of women in any age that are immature, that are toxic, that are red flags, that in any age group. True. So it's not like just because a woman's 34 that means that she's magically going to be a fantastic partner. Now, also, there's often a common thing that comes up with this conversation is, well, what do you have in common with someone who's, 5 years younger than you, 10 years younger than you, whatever it may be? Commonality is not very high on the totem pole, in my view, when it comes to romantic partners. And I think that's the case for both men and women. She doesn't like the same movies as I like. I don't really care. Commonality, what do men and women have in common really to begin with? It's not. So commonality is not super important to me. What I will say, and I've got a list here of kind of like why you might want to date a woman who's, keyword, just clarification here, woman, so adult woman, because people are trying to want to shift it into, okay. So more physically attractive, I would say more emotionally available, more romantic, more energy, optimistic for the future, more time to live life and travel the world before starting a family, more fertile, less baggage and trauma. That's really big. The more relationships you've had, you get more baggage, you have more relationship trauma, you're jaded. There's only room for one jaded person in this relationship, and that's me. Oh. Okay. More open to new ideas, more agreeable, typically easier to build a life with, less likely to have gotten with, like we were talking about before, the more sexual partners you've had, you've probably landed on a guy who's a top fucking G. And I don't want to be like, you're going to be like when in the dark recesses of your mind, once you've been with a really top fucking guy, you're not going to be happy with Mr. Normal.
I think I do think women will probably answer this. I mean, some of you guys have been with guys, and some of the guys in the past you couldn't even, like, you have no recollection emotionally with that person. I mean, I don't know if that's the way you got. Some women get over that, right? They don't have no feeling for the guy anymore, and it's like a blur in their mind. Just like me, and my wife was like, "You slept with some girl," and I'm like, "I don't even remember. I have no." I don't even know what it was like. I just know I slept with the girl, but I don't know what it's like. I'm so far removed from that at this point that it's not really adding any issues to my life.
But Brian, I think you're also generalizing women in that I agree with you. Younger women are more physically attractive, and that's where our prime is. They're more fertile, but also women, like you said, in their early 30s or maybe later in their 20s. Some women have done their work. They've gone to therapy. They've done their work. They have gone in their careers, and they're there to take care of you. They're gonna stop partying. Like one thing
deeper.
What we talked about, me and my future fiance, we're gonna do it. But I'm gonna get rid of my Instagram because that's something that we talked about, and I decided yes, because I want to do this. I want to stop partying. I'm dedicating my life to you, and we're not all the same. He's gonna start going to therapy because we're both doing this together. It's not that. Wait, let me just wait. I'm not finished. The thing I'm telling you is that not all women are bringing excess baggage, have been trained through.
It's just the reality of life. The longer you've lived, the more likely you are to have accrued baggage and trauma.
The wiser you are.
But I have done.
I'm wise enough for the both of us.
No, I have done therapy. That's why I've done my own trauma therapy, because I don't want to bring
who's
it.
Been through therapy and has had all this trauma that she needs to
So you don't want a girl who's really decided who she is and has established her values?
I didn't do it for him. I did it for myself.
And then I have a question: Why
That's great.
don't you want that in a woman? Why don't you?
I
Why
don't
don't,
think you
why
know
don't
that
I
you
want a
need to go
woman
to therapy
who
in
hasn't
order to
had
be
a
like
bunch of
that.
trauma?
No.
and
Why don't
baggage?
you want a woman who has had enough time to what?
Just go.
Calm
Go.
down. Why don't you want a woman who has had enough time to really figure out who she is and believe in that and live out those and like establish her values and her virtues and live those out? And that doesn't necessarily mean that she's been run through a bunch of times or has all this relational baggage. That doesn't mean that, but she's been on the earth longer, so she's had a longer
And
time
by
to
the way-
figure out.
That's not an attraction
And by the
trigger
way,
for
in
me.
19-year-olds
it doesn't make you more attractive because
No.
you've had more life
Emotional
experiences.
IQ, emotional
I know
health.
19-year-olds who have more trauma than I've
Absolutely.
been way too.
100%. Yes, there are deeply troubled women of any age group. However, it is the case that as you move through life, you start accruing certain traumas, not necessarily
How do you know?
certain
How
trauma,
do you know
certain
that?
baggage.
How do you know that?
If you've had 10 boyfriends versus one,
I've
yeah,
only
you've
had
probably
I've
ran into
only
a
had
toxic
three-
fucking guy.
three
I'm not, dude.
relationships.
I'm not talking about you. The sun does not revolve around you.
I'm not saying it revolves around me. I'm just saying that
But
we
that's
are complex
anecdotal.
and unique. That's why I'm saying don't generalize women.
But this is a dating podcast. We're
Okay,
operating
that's fine.
in generalities
Okay, you're
here.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. I give you that. Sorry about
The
that.
reality. Look, it's just
So you're saying it's a deal breaker, age?
no, absolutely not. No, and the reality. Look, I'm not like hanging out at college parties trying to fuck a co-ed. Like I'm not trolling at college parties. Oh, let me get a sorority chick. Actually, the reality is most of the women I date are actually around my age. And actually, in recent history, I've dated some women who are older than me. I've dated a woman who's 39. I dated a woman 2-3 years ago who was 45. Granted, she didn't have kids. Still, okay, that's another conversation. But
That's very open-minded.
But I'll most of the women I date, I say are late 20s, early
But
30s. But I'm not going to sit here and say when it comes to just like the women who I think are most physically attractive, like it's probably a 21-year-old girl. I'm gonna be honest.
I would encourage young men who want to be married in a relationship to not think too deep into it. Just become the man you need to be, and when you're in your mission and your purpose, you'll find a woman, and don't I guess lose that opportunity because you're looking at age or something like that. I married my wife and she was 36. I thought about it and I said, you know what? I already had a kid.
Is she older than you?
Yeah, she's older than me. So I already had a kid, so I thought about it, but I love my wife. And God ended up blessing us with one kid, and that's enough for me. I don't want no more kids. But that was good enough for my life and my family. A person can get so caught up in, I want to be with a younger woman because we're going to have 15 kids, and you meet a younger woman and she has...
Can you guys wait like just 10 more minutes? Or if we don't wrap by then, just you're welcome to excuse. I know it's getting late, so if you need to excuse yourself, that's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you get the younger woman because she's young, and we're gonna have 15, 20 kids. But it's a woman who's immature. You end up getting a divorce, or she dies at a young age. You don't know what life has for you, so don't get too caught up in this minutia. Just focus on being a great man. Build your values, and when you're ready and it's time for you to be with somebody, be open-minded to a woman that's there to add value to your life.
Right.
Oh,
It could be
absolutely,
a 21-year-old, but people get so caught up in these stats that they overlook an incredible woman that's probably older than they would like. I thought that I wanted a younger woman than my wife, but what if I'd have said, man, she's 36 years old. I can't have kids with her. I'm not going to be with her. I think that may be a negative if you carry that. It's okay to think about it. It's okay to understand the numbers, but people got to start looking at their lives as individual experiences,
right,
and don't get caught up in the generalization. Not saying don't look at it, but don't get caught up because you may walk away from an incredible woman or an incredible man because you're thinking of these stats.